Hello, I've just had a report from two members of the public. Just get that from my face.
Back a little bit.
No, I've had two reports from two members of the public saying that you've been here. They think your actions have been quite suspicious, videoing the security centre over on the right-hand side there. Could you tell me what your business is here today?
I'm just testing my camera.
You're testing your camera. So the reason, obviously, we're speaking to you today is, obviously, at the moment, the counter-terrorism level is quite high. Do you realise that? Did you realise that was a question?
There hasn't been an attack for a few years now, no?
No, but the threat level is still considered to be quite hard. It's generally quite on the news, but if you're not, I've just educated you the fact that it is.
Yeah, cool,
okay,
man.
you understand that.
Cool.
And obviously some of the tactics that these people employ, unfortunately, is sort of reconnaissance. It's much what you're probably doing, taking some form of video footage.
I'm not doing reconnaissance.
On cameras. Okay, but you can understand that your actions at the moment do look like that. Do you understand that?
I understand that you think that, yeah, but it's not the fact. It's not the truth. I haven't got any sinister intention.
Okay, cool. What's your name, please, buddy, so I can just confirm who you are?
I'm not prepared to give my name.
Well, if you can allow me to confirm who you are, then I can establish your identity, and in which case, after that, then I can confirm the fact that you may or may not be obviously doing what you're doing reasonably.
Even after user 1 explains he's simply testing his camera, the officers don't slow the interaction down. Instead, they jump straight to the familiar justification of the current counter-terror climate and start talking about reconnaissance. That's a serious label to attach to a camera pointed at one of London's most photographed landmarks. And that leap says a lot about the mindset at play. Filming a building that's captured daily by tourists suddenly becomes something sinister, purely because a call came in saying someone looked suspicious. Instead of checking whether the behavior actually matches the claim, the focus quickly shifts to obtaining user 1's personal details. Not because a specific offence has been identified, but because it would help justify the stop after the fact.
Because if you don't confirm who you are, then that's going to put some doubt around your identity, in which case that's going to start to make me a bit more suspicious about your actions, about what you're doing here today. However, if you're willing to give me your name and I can identify who you are, then we can take a step forward about what you're doing is reasonable or not. So, one, can you give me your personal details, and two, do you have any photographic ID, please?
I don't have any photographic ID, and I can't give you my details. I'm in a public place.
I'm going to explain it just one more time for you, okay?
Yeah, okay.
So, obviously, your actions have been reported to me by two members of the public. It's deemed to be suspicious. I've told you around, obviously, the threat level in terms of terrorists at the moment is quite high.
I'm not a terrorist.
So, I'm telling you that's the threat level. I'm not saying whether you're a terrorist or not. I'm also telling you, obviously, your actions around one of the main security buildings in London is also deemed to be suspicious, and an easy way for me to establish whether or not what you're telling me is the truth would be to establish your identification. So at the moment, you're making me a lot more suspicious and starting to sort of ground up a few more grounds of whether or not I think what you're doing is reasonable or not.
I'm not doing nothing wrong. I'm in a public place. I've got no sinister intentions. I understand what you're saying. This looks suspicious. I'm not prepared to give my name.
You're not prepared to give me that?
No, and I won't change your mind either. So you can do what you want. Why is that? Well, I told you why. Because I'm in a public place and I'm doing nothing wrong.
What really stands out here is how the officer begins treating privacy itself as a warning sign. User 1's decision not to volunteer personal information is framed as if it somehow confirms suspicion, flipping the logic of the interaction on its head. In a public setting, people are generally free to go about ordinary activities without identifying themselves, unless a specific legal power requires it. And here, no such power has even been named. The claim that the only way to verify what he's saying is by obtaining his identity isn't how accountability works. Officers are expected to rely on observable behavior and lawful grounds, not on whether someone agrees to hand over their name. As user 1 puts it plainly, I know my rights, and I don't have to provide my name.
I'm just saying I know my rights, and I don't have to provide my name.
Okay, mate. What's going to happen at this point? Always, I'm going to ask you to put the camera down because you're going to be searched, okay, from this point. So I'll ask you to put the camera down. You're going to be stopped and searched under the Terrorism Act, okay? Fine. Do you understand that?
I understand fully.
That's in your property with that name and address. Is that you? And if it's not, why have you got it?
Yeah, that's me, yeah.
That's you, fantastic. Have you got a date of birth, please? You haven't, no? And what is your name and address, please? So I can confirm that's you, as opposed to... So what's the name and address on it?
I'm telling you, that's me. I know the address on it. I'm not giving you my details. I've confirmed that's my name and address. I've gone further than I wanted to. I know the name and address on there, man. I'm not confirming it.
Then I don't know that's you. If you can't...
Well, it is me. You can arrest me then, can't you? And we'll sort it out back at the station. It is me. I'm not telling you.
Why are you being so difficult?
I'm not being difficult. I don't know. I'm exercising my rights.
Okay.
You've got ID. It's in my bag. You can run a name check. You've got what you want.
The moment user 1 refuses to hand over his details, the tone shifts, and the officer moves straight to stop and search powers. What's troubling is the sequence. Physical control is taken first, and only afterwards is the Terrorism Act mentioned as justification. Under Section 43 of the Terrorism Act, officers can search someone if they reasonably suspect involvement in terrorism. But that power isn't a shortcut to regain authority in an argument. IT allows a search for items connected to terrorism, not a free pass to start going through personal paperwork or correspondence. While the officers continue pressing for his identity, user 1 highlights the obvious alternative. If they genuinely believe an offence has occurred, they can arrest him, and that point matters. Because it forces the issue back onto lawful grounds, rather than pressure.
Some Arabic film scripts as well. Any idea why you would have that? Bearing in mind, you've already said you don't understand what it says.
You chuck that and that through intelligence as well, please, mate.
Just to let you know, we are also recording, so feel free to stop because we've got it all as well. It's entirely up to you.
Oh yeah, but the only difference is if I make a freedom of information request, I won't get it.
I don't know what you're allowed and what you aren't.
No, you're not allowed it, so I'd rather have my own documentation if that's okay.
No problem at all.
You're still here because effectively what we've obviously gathered is there's a piece of property that may or may not belong to you. So
it belongs to me. I'm telling you it belongs to me.
Just to let me finish and I can explain to you. So we're investigating obviously a matter of whether or not that's a case of handling stolen goods or not.
Yeah.
The other matter is obviously some of the scripture I've seen in there and still your actions I feel to be suspicious. So obviously going to be investigation around these sort of the terrorist sort of activities, okay, that you may or may not be involved in. That's why you're still being detained. A reasonable normal...
I didn't even want to commit a reasonable normal person.
A reasonable normal person would be able to provide me their name and address and be able to tell me what's on that sheet of paper.
Well, I'll do it back at the station, won't it?
Okay.
A sheet of paper with Arabic writing on it suddenly becomes a point of concern, with talk of running it through systems, as if the language itself signals a threat. That shift says a lot about where the stop is heading. When that leads nowhere, attention moves to a letter he's carrying, and within seconds it's suggested it might not belong to him, quickly escalating into talk of stolen goods. There's no evidence driving any of this. The reasoning is being built entirely around one fact. User 1 won't confirm his identity. Even labeling him as abnormal or unreasonable for keeping his details private misses the basic point. Declining to volunteer personal information is not an offence.
You can do a check, and then we ask you questions to confirm that they are identical.
Yeah,
so if you can confirm that, and it matches up, then that's a very quick way to identify you. But if you're not willing to cooperate with that, if you're not willing to tell me a little bit about yourself, then I can't confirm that the person we've got on the computer is you. So again, you've got that now third opportunity, another way that you could confirm who you are, your identity, in which case would avoid a lot more impact on you.
You're itching to arrest me. You might as well just get on with it.
I'm not, to be honest.
You might as well just get on with it. I'm not confirming anything. I'm not confirming or denying anything. How's it go?
The two reasons that you're still here, the two reasons why we've completed the search and that you're still being detained here, there's two matters that we're investigating.
Yeah. One, if I'm a terrorist.
The first is it's potentially the handling stolen goods. So there's a crime of either theft or handling stolen goods. Okay. You could confirm that whether that property is yours or not simply by providing your details, which is a very simple and reasonable thing to do. And the other matter is obviously we're still looking into your the terrorism activities, because obviously the scripture you've got, the actions you've displayed.
What scripture? It's not scripture.
Even after the search produces nothing, user 1 is still kept there, which immediately raises the question: what grounds are left to justify holding him? Instead of releasing him, the explanation starts shifting again. Now there's talk of possible theft based on a letter they can't connect to any offence, while at the same time pointing to Arabic writing on a piece of paper and trying to link it to terrorism concerns. That's a serious problem. The presence of Arabic language or religious text, on its own, cannot form the basis for terrorism suspicion. Treating a language or a piece of writing as evidence of extremism isn't policing grounded in behaviour or facts, it's speculation.
We can sort those two inquiries out, then you don't get arrested. If we can establish it's not stolen goods, you go on your way. If we can establish what's on there is all innocent, then you still go on your way, don't you?
For the record.
But that is all down to you providing your details and being cooperative.
Okay.
All the while you're not being cooperative makes it more suspicious and it'll take longer.
Okay. Well, the only thing I can prove is I'm not handling stolen goods. Who cares about that if you've pulled someone up for terrorism? Who cares about the handling stolen goods?
I could start looking into who you are, confirm who you are, in which case it could help actually.
Really?
Yeah.
So you can confirm I'm not handling stolen goods, but I might be a terrorist. Yeah, right.
There's some marked scars on you that, if you want to show me your right arm, that'd be great. I'll take your jacket off if you wouldn't mind. Okay,
You want me to?
No, you don't need to do that. That might confirm it's you. I need to see your whole arm.
You just swap around that way.
There we go. And also the back of your head.
Back of my head?
Yeah. Lump in the back of your head.
By this stage, the interaction has clearly turned into a pressure tactic. The message becomes simple: give your details and you can leave, refuse, and arrest is on the table. That isn't how the process is supposed to work. An arrest must be justified by a specific offence and necessity, not used as leverage to obtain personal information. When officers then demand he remove clothing to show scars on the back of his head, the situation drifts even further from the purpose of the original stop. Search powers allow officers to look for items connected to an offence, not to inspect someone's body out of curiosity. There's no clear link between scars and any of the suspicions raised, which makes the request appear arbitrary rather than investigative.
2 members of the public phone you.
And your point is what?
You can consider this a security audit.
Right.
And you failed big time. All here.
So is that your intention? Is it to highlight lapses in security?
Not necessarily, but I think I just have.
You're displaying isn't normal behaviour in my mind. I've been doing policing probably for the last, excess of 20 years, so I'm fairly experienced in how
You sound like a nice guy.
sort of behave and react.
Yeah.
And this just doesn't seem quite normal.
Want to waste your time as much as we don't want to waste our own time. That's why we can't understand why.
Well, we're waiting on CCTV now, aren't we?
The stolen goods aspect of this, which now we know didn't exist, but at the time, because of you not being very cooperative, it made it very suspicious.
Why do you feel the need to carry on filming?
I'm documenting this encounter.
No, you just keep.
What becomes clear here is that the entire encounter is being driven by the initial phone calls, not by anything the officers themselves have actually observed. A report from the public can justify checking on a situation, but it doesn't automatically create grounds to detain someone or treat them as a suspect. Instead of identifying a specific offence or behaviour that meets a legal threshold, the officer falls back on saying the situation isn't normal in his view. That's the problem. Policing powers aren't meant to be based on personal impressions. The moment decisions rely on what feels unusual rather than what the law requires, the line between suspicion and opinion starts to disappear. Even waiting for CCTV to see whether something might eventually appear only reinforces that point. The grounds aren't there, so they're being looked for after the fact.
Members of public approach us, which is why you initially stopped today. Do you understand that bit?
We understand.
Okay, so the second bit is where you're filming, obviously the entrance, as like my colleague pointed out, a number of members of the public come in. Should complaints come in, and they haven't as yet, I'll be quite clear in that, no one's made a complaint as yet, but should a complaint come in around the fact that they feel either intimidated by that, or they find that your behaviour is either threatening, alarming, or is going to upset them in some way, then there could be some other offences that could be considered. So you could be liable to offences under the Public Order Act, or effectively breaching the Queen's Peace, both of which are arrestable, and you could end up at a police station. So just something to consider.
Because under the Terrorism Act,
I've never been stopped under the Terrorism Act.
Footage under the Terrorism Act.
You need to film this. You need to review
the footage on there, mate. Yeah, because we need to be happy about what you're filming. Okay, and unfortunately, we will be viewing it now.
You want to do that now?
The final step in the encounter, according to user 1, is the seizure of his camera. That's significant. Taking someone's recording equipment is a serious action that requires clear legal grounds. Cameras can be seized if they're believed to contain evidence of a specific offence, but throughout the interaction, officers struggled to identify one. Their reasoning shifted repeatedly, from terrorism to possible theft to public order to breach of the peace. None of it settled into anything concrete. What stands out across the entire encounter is how quickly officers moved away from observable behavior and into assumptions. A report from the public became the starting point, but instead of verifying whether anything unlawful had actually occurred, the interaction kept expanding into new theories each time the previous one failed. Ordinary things, a camera, a letter, a language on a page, were repeatedly treated as if they carried hidden meaning. By the end, the picture is uncomfortable. A person filming in public is taken through a full escalation, and the longer it continues, the heavier it becomes.